Hello and welcome to a new week on Granada Reports.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
I want to pay tribute to the incredible bravery of the women who told their stories and have fought for justice through all those years. They should never have been let down for so long.
Demands at the new public inquiry into grooming gangs in places like Oldham and Rochdale faces the truth about those who committed the crimes and those who ignored the victims.
I want change. I want to see chief constables in prison for gross criminal neglect of duty, because these are not mistakes. This is neglect.
We'll be hearing from victims who say the inquiry is long overdue.
Also on the programme. As we start the search for local heroes to represent our region at the Pride of Britain Awards, last year's winner, knife crime campaigner Laura, tells us how the awards inspired her to work even harder.
Some silverware at last at Old Trafford. How Soccer Aid was a massive hit in Manchester.
A skirl of pipes to welcome D-Day veteran Jeff, as against all odds he makes it to 100 years old.
And the weather outlook this week is for some pretty warm temperatures by the time we reach Friday. Of course, I'll have all the detail a little later on.
Well, first tonight, it is the public inquiry that victims and experts say must deliver.
In the last few hours, the Home Secretary's announced she's setting up a full national inquiry into sexual grooming gangs operating largely across the north in towns like Oldham, Rochdale and across the Pennines in Bradford and Rotherham.
One of our region's leading child abuse lawyers said the inquiry must not tiptoe around the issue of race. Without doubt, most of the criminals convicted have been men of Pakistani heritage targeting mostly white girls. Only on Friday, 7 men from Rochdale were convicted for repeatedly raping 2 teenage victims.
Another campaigner says chief constables need to be jailed for their role in turning a blind eye to the abuse.
We'll be analysing the issues around this story after this report from Tim Scott.
Last Friday, 7 men were convicted of grooming and sexually abusing 2 children in Rochdale from 2001 to 2006. On Saturday, the Prime Minister announced a new statutory inquiry into grooming gangs. It comes after months of pressure on the government, who until now had resisted the idea.
The reforms I've set out today will mean the strongest action any government has taken to tackle child sexual exploitation, more police investigations, more arrests, a new inquiry, changes to the law to protect children, and a fundamental overhaul of the way organisations work to support victims and put perpetrators behind bars.
The grooming gang scandal is one of the worst scandals in Britain, probably in the post-war period. So I think it was inevitable that it was going to need a public inquiry at some stage, and the government should have recognised that. They have now recognised that. We've got this announcement, and I think it's the right decision.
The men convicted last week were all of Pakistani South Asian heritage. The inquiry will look into whether ethnicity and culture are factors in how grooming gangs operate.
There is a strong overrepresentation of men from Pakistani Muslim background. That might be partly because these crimes tend to happen in or around the nighttime economy, and obviously men from that background are overrepresented in that part of the economy. It may also, and I think it probably is, also related to cultural attitudes and misogyny. We can't tiptoe around that issue any longer. We have to confront it head on.
I got locked up in 2007, early 2008. They knew about all them men in 2004. Why punish me for it when they knew who them men were? They knew what them men was doing.
Social workers and police knew that survivor Chantal on the right was being abused by grooming gangs when she was a child, but nothing was done. And there are calls for those in power who turned a blind eye to such abuse to be outed by the new inquiry.
It's about seeing the people, not just the perpetrators in jail, but actually seeing the people that didn't believe these victims potentially go to jail. They should be found, they should be sought out, and they should be forced, which they will because it's a statutory inquiry, to give evidence and explain their role in this scandal.
I think that the time has come where we will demand change.
Ex-GMP detective Maggie Oliver works with survivors of abuse. She welcomes the new inquiry, but only if it effects real change.
The devil is in the detail. Who is going to lead that inquiry? What are the terms of reference? Will they allow people like me to contribute this time? Because last time they silenced us all. I want action. I want change. I want to see chief constables in prison for gross criminal neglect of duty, because these are not mistakes. This is neglect.
Well, our political correspondent, Leisha McNally's at Westminster for us. Leisha, the Prime Minister's ruled out a national public inquiry again and again. Why is he changing his mind now?
Well, I think, put simply, we could say that this report told him to. For months, ministers have insisted that locally led inquiries were best placed to give justice for victims. The government, in fact, put £5 million worth of funding aside for such reviews, including one in Oldham. But in the past few hours, this report, looking at group-led child sexual exploitation, has been published. It's 3 months of work by the report's author, Baroness Casey, and it's 3 months which have changed her mind. She now says that those independent inquiries locally must be overseen at a national level, giving them all the teeth they need to compel witnesses to testify and to gather evidence of systems which she said repeatedly failed children. Now, the Prime Minister has read this report cover to cover and says he accepts all her recommendations. So that is the background to the Home Secretary's appearance in the House of Commons today. But of course, the politics of this are inescapable. Conservatives on the one hand say Labour wasted precious time resisting calls for a national inquiry and that this is a U-turn. Labour say that's a bit rich for a party which sat on recommendations from earlier inquiries and didn't do anything about them. And what was quite extraordinary about today was how much of the debate was focused on the politics, not the policy, something which the MP for Rochdale say he deeply regrets, given how serious these crimes continue to be in his constituency and beyond.
I think that's what really depresses me. Sometimes some politicians turn this into a political game about point scoring. It's not about that. It should be about us all uniting. We're all on the same side. The enemy are these paedophiles. That's the point. And I think that most people, most members of the public, don't care about the politics. They want action. They want justice, and they want to make sure that their own women and girls are actually protected. And that's the key. That's the only test that matters.
The only test that matters, Leisha. So what happens now?
Well, now an independent commissioner will be appointed to oversee the national inquiry. They will set out the scope and the timelines, but we were told today it's thought to be around 3 years. Now, that's a long time to wait, but in the meantime, the government says it will crack on with the 12 recommendations in this report, which were informed by crimes in places like Rochdale and Oldham. First, children must be treated as children within the law. The review found that too many were deemed to somehow have consented to their own abuse. So sexual contact with anyone under 16 will see mandatory charges of rape. Second, the report says the issue of ethnicity is still being shied away from, so it will become mandatory for police to collect that data from all suspects in child sex abuse, something which is only happening in about a third of cases right now. And finally, there are also practical steps, such as the closer regulation of taxi licences, because of the roles that taxis have played in historic cases. Now, many survivors say they've heard too many promises too many times before, and their hope is that some of the anger and the energy we saw on display today and there will now be put to better use enacting this here.
Leisha at Westminster, thank you.
In other news today, and the police watchdog is going to reinvestigate events in the weeks before a family were targeted in a fatal arson attack in Greater Manchester. The house fire in Walkden in 2017 claimed the lives of 4 children, with their mother, Michelle Pearson, suffering extensive burns. She subsequently died just under 2 years later. The Independent Office for Police Conduct will now take a fresh look at the family's prior contact with Greater Manchester Police involving incidents and threats from their killers.
Hundreds of people have marched through the streets of Lancaster and Morecambe to raise funds for St John's Hospice. The annual Moonlight Walk saw around 650 participants dressed in green walk a 16-kilometre route. It's already understood to have raised more than £60,000 for the hospice.
Well, next tonight, and last year, the knife crime campaigner Laura Hughes from Merseyside represented our region at the Pride of Britain Awards in London.
Yeah, and 12 months on, she says she's been inspired to step up her mission to make our streets safer.
Well, today she's been meeting hundreds of children preparing for a 19-mile relay to raise awareness and money for potentially life-saving bleed control kits.
And she's also hoping to create an army of young medics who'll know how to respond in an emergency. Our correspondent Victoria Grimes has been to meet them.
No one came into my school to talk to me about knife crime because it didn't exist. We've got two choices. We can just let it carry on, or we can stand up together and be like, hang on a minute, I'm not having that.
For 6 years, Laura Hughes has channelled her grief into making a difference for the next generation. She hasn't slowed down since winning her Pride of Britain award, her campaign now reaching even wider.
CPR, catastrophic bleeding. A child asked me what the ambition of the campaign is, and it's for every child to be educated, it's for every school and community to have bleed control equipment, and it's for every child to be able to be first aid trained on what to do in an emergency situation. Does anyone know what bleed control equipment is?
In 2001, Laura's brother Colin McGinty was stabbed to death in a case of mistaken identity. She started No Knife Crime to raise awareness and has since raised more than £100,000 for life-saving bleed control kits. Now children from 15 schools will take part in a relay race to raise even more.
We haven't really had many other people come into our school and speak about that stuff, so it's amazing that she's raising her voice and telling people what she thinks right and wrong.
That she's right, that with children, we're younger, so if we speak up now, it'll make a difference in the future.
She's very brave and very mature of what she's doing for Colin. I support her.
What is it that drives you to keep going?
My driving force is keeping our streets safe, but also making sure that my brother didn't die in vain, that his name is on children's lips. One kid wanted to Google a little bit about our Colin, and I think that's really powerful for me, you know. I mean, one child said, sorry about your loss, and I'm just like, I know that what I'm saying to them is resonating with them. These children feel like today they're about to change the world, and they are.
She's very brave, and she should keep doing this to raise awareness. She's boss, like, she's like the best person I've ever met to talk about that.
Well, up until now, for the regional fundraiser, you've only been able to nominate an individual. But new this year, you can now nominate a whole group. Yay! What do you think about the fact that you can now nominate a group?
I think it's amazing. I seem to get the glory for all the work that happens, when in actual fact, it's a collective, it's everybody, the schools, it's the children. So there's loads of deserving groups, so I think it's a really positive thing.
Nominations for this year's Regional Fundraiser Awards are now open. Victoria Grimes, ITV News.
Yeah. If you know someone who has done amazing work in the Northwest and deserves to be nominated, you can go to itv.com/Pride of Britain to nominate individuals or groups of people, with the winner representing the region at the Pride of Britain Awards event in London.
Nominees must be aged 18 or over and be available to be filmed and have their fundraising story told on Granada Reports.
Time for sport now, and the countdown continues to Everton's first major match in their new home. Hello, Mike.
Yeah, hi guys. They've said goodbye to Goodison and a couple of small hellos to their new stadium with limited crowds. Well, now Everton have revealed the details for their first full house at Hill Dickinson Stadium. Their third and final test event will see every one of the 52,888 seats occupied for the visit of Italian giants AS Roma. The match on Saturday, August the 9th, will also be the club's final pre-season game before the new Premier League campaign. Well, Manchester City haven't wrapped up this season yet. They are in America for the FIFA Club World Cup with their opening game on Wednesday.
Nico Gonzalez! Nunes! Ha!
Before they set off, players headed out in Manchester, making surprise visits to thank fans for their support. Mateus Nunes, Nico Gonzalez and Claudio Echeverri dropped in at Ravensbury Community School to see the children and their retiring City Mad head teacher.
I have been a City fan all my life. My dad first took me to Main Road. City are the world to me, followed them home and away.
I was very excited, very nervous. I'm like, I've never ever seen these, but now it's a dream come true.
I was shocked to me because I'm the biggest City fan in the class.
Well, it was really nice. The energy that all the kids give you and the emotion that they have when they see us, it's inspiring us.
You forget how it is to see your idol and people you look up to, and yeah, it's very humbling.
Now, last week we previewed a huge weekend of motorsport as, for the first time ever, the National Speedway Stadium in Manchester hosted the Grand Prix World Championship. Bellevue Aces hero Dan Bewley won round 4, the British Grand Prix, on Friday night. 24 hours later, his clubmate and Aces captain Brady Kurtz finished in second place in round 5 of the championship. Poland's Bartosz Smarslik won it in front of record crowds at Bellevue. Well, next to a memorable night at Old Trafford as sports stars and celebrities helped raise an incredible £15 million for the children's charity UNICEF. Soccer Aid returned to the Northwest, watched by 70,000 inside the stadium and millions more at home. And as Chris Hall reports, it was a former Manchester United favourite turned villain who helped the rest of the world to a famous win over England.
Come on, England! The 14th edition of Soccer Aid has returned to where it all began nearly 2 decades ago, and it's a sellout, with fans flocking from all over the country to Old Trafford to see their favourite footballers and celebrities do battle on a pitch as famous as they are. Who are you here to see today?
Louis Tomlinson.
Louis Tomlinson?
Louis Tomlinson. Louis, because I'm obsessed with One Direction. Angry Ginge.
Tom Grennan.
Well, all Man United players, just from when I grew up watching them.
Vidic and Gary Neville.
Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney.
Come on, England! The 70,000 in the stands, including Hollywood's Julia Roberts, had to pick a side. England, led by former heavyweight boxing king Tyson Fury, or the World 11, coached by Old Trafford icon Peter Schmeichel. TV personality Sam Thompson had run and cycled 260 miles from last year's venue Stamford Bridge to deliver a match ball, which was too soft for Wayne Rooney. But the crowd wasn't deflated for long. On his old turf, Rooney led a hat-trick of England legends onto the scoresheet.
Header by Ginge, it's Defoe!
But this night of heroes had a villain too.
Maybe single-handedly changing the picture.
Carlos Tevez, who once left Manchester United for City, scoring one of the least popular Old Trafford hat-tricks. But any sour taste was sweetened by TV chef Big Zoo.
Oh, Big Zoo! Big Zoo's done it!
That was Big Zoo!
Hey, come on, it's only right, man. It's only right. Hey!
Dermot, that was some goals.
What a goal! Come on, man. What he called it from pundit to match winner.
Let's hope for us all.
Yeah, anyway. You said it, mate.
You had them on the ropes there for a bit, though, didn't you?
We did. We had them under severe pressure until Tevez. Who knows? Carlos Tevez still got it.
And they've been entertained tonight. The score was wrong. It's at these times that I like to lean heavily into my Irish heritage.
We have to give it to him,
Sorry. It's just what you need, isn't it?
Congratulations. He played well, to be fair.
I think you're the bravest person in Old Trafford tonight. You came on, so you'll never walk alone.
I did not know anything about that. Oh. Gary went mad, Gary Neville, didn't he, on the bench, apparently? Might stay off Twitter for a few days.
I think Tom Grennan was really pleased to see you leave the field. Because there was one moment when he tried to shoulder charge you and he came off second best.
100%. I mean, I am a gladiator. What does he expect, really, when you're going up against a gladiator? Come on.
Man of the match. Congratulations.
Was that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm happy with that. Yeah, thank you. The crowd was amazing. I started tearing up in the first half and the second half then. It's just, you don't expect it, and I just appreciate it so much.
So the World 11 win back their crown, but this was a match with a mission. So far, Soccer Aid has raised more than £100 million for UNICEF, helping children in 190 countries around the world.
And we'll sing your song together. And we'll sing your song together.
The Halle Children's Choir with Dermot Kennedy brought the poignancy to push the night's fundraising over £15 million.
It's quite surreal. I was just looking around the whole time. In the sound check, I was kind of spent my time looking at the ground, and you couldn't help but just watch it. Yeah, I was a bit in a trance, I guess. Yeah.
To get here today with the match ball, tell us about that moment.
Well, I wish we'd blown it up actually at the start because it was a little bit flat. The energy from the crowd, like you can see how much UNICEF means to the people who are here as well, which I think is incredibly touching.
The rivalries will resume in a year. Until then, those who've battled to raise the trophy will continue to raise hope for children who need it most. Chris Hall, ITV News, Old Trafford.
Yeah, a lot of credit must go to Robbie Williams. He set this up in 2006. 120 million raised for UNICEF now.
It's incredible, isn't it? But Sam Quek was brave.
Do you believe what she said there? She knew nothing about that music. I'm not too sure about it.
I don't know. Right, thank you. And finally tonight to a very happy birthday to one of our D-Day veterans.
Yeah, Jeff Hogg celebrating his centenary at the weekend, surrounded by family and friends at his residential home in Morecambe.
Yeah, the great-grandfather was just 18 when he signed up to serve his country all the way back in 1943.
Our correspondent Andy Bonner went to meet him and hear how it's a minor miracle he survived the war.
Jeff doesn't know it yet, but he's about to get a celebration fit for a hero. The D-Day veteran is 100, so everyone wanted to help him celebrate.
What did you think when you turned around the corner and saw and heard the piper?
I was flabbergasted. I didn't expect to hear a piper. Well, I heard that noise. It was on the beach at D-Day.
What does it mean for you, Jeff, to be here with all your friends and family, and then all the other people that have turned out, all the armed forces, to pay tribute to you and to wish you a happy birthday?
I didn't think I was so well liked.
They packed into his nursing home in Morecambe to prove Jeff wrong. In fact, the whole community pulled together to make this a special day. His medals, including France's highest military honour for bravery, have been cleaned, and 100 birthday cards from 100 local school children decorated the room. But there was, of course, one very special card still to open.
Dutch card from the King. Yeah. Well done, Jeffrey. Yeah.
We had no idea that this was all going to be happening, so I think he's a little bit overwhelmed, really.
Yeah,
I'm very proud.
Very proud, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite an achievement to make it 100. And we're very blessed that we've still got him with us, and, you know, we've got generations of family that are enjoying today, so it's just pretty amazing, really.
And to see the admiration from some of the, you know, the people who've come today, and, you know, they're obviously very proud of him, having a connection to their regiment as well, and some of the gifts he's received. It's just really lovely to see personal touches people are putting.
Jeff was in the first wave of servicemen to land on D-Day. He was miraculously unharmed when a mortar bomb hit the side of the trench he was sleeping in. He wasn't so lucky when he was badly injured by shrapnel in another attack. But he returned to duty, joining the catering corps.
If those centenarians didn't do what they did during World War I and World War II, we would be living in a very different world today. And we've got a lot to thank them for how the freedoms that we have today. And there's not many have made it to 100. This is a testament to his resilience, his commitment, and his vibrance for life.
I gather you were injured quite badly during the war. Did you? There was
going. And the doctor put his hand right through with his finger. Oh, that was very serious. They were frightened me. I was going to die of gangrene.
You must have never thought that you would make it to 100.
It's just the look of the draw. And I pray to God every night. He seems to have picked me out to last forever.
This was a fitting celebration of a remarkable man and a tribute to all of those who risked their lives for our freedom. Andy Bonner, ITV News, Morecambe.
Yeah. Very happy birthday to Jeff.
Many happy returns. Here's Kerry.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello, very good evening to you. Hope you've enjoyed your day. It was mixed fortunes over the weekend, but still with some sunny spells and some decent sunny spells around the region today. And actually for the bulk of this week, it's not too bad at all. Just a little blip as we head into tomorrow. Essentially high pressure is building through the week and the temperatures will rise day on day. We've just got that little system around that high to deal with tomorrow, and then high pressure really does set in for the rest of the week. So as we head deeper into this evening, it stays dry and fine and clear to start. A little bit more cloud as we head into the early hours, and particularly breezy and cloudy for the Isle of Man and especially the Cumbrian Hills as we head towards dawn. So there'll be some low clouds over the mountain tops by the time we reach dawn tomorrow. But you can see the temperature's nothing too chilly despite that breeze from the southwest. So as we head into tomorrow, 4:39 and 9:44 are your sun times as we head into Tuesday. We've got a very weak front tomorrow and it's sinking south and eastwards. It will tend to fizzle out as it does so, but it will produce some cloud and it will produce a little bit of mostly light rain and drizzle, a few moderate pulses perhaps over the hills, very slowly throughout the day. So compared to today, a bit disappointing in terms of temperatures and sunshine amounts, but it does push through, and then behind it, it will feel a little bit fresher for northern parts by the evening. But as it fizzles out, you can see that high pressure rebuilding from the southwest as we head into Wednesday. So midweek sets the scene, dry, settled, light winds and plenty of sunshine. And we get daytime heating day on day as we head into the second half of the week. So those temperatures really are going to climb, especially by the time we reach Friday.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Making the most of summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
Yes, settled summery weather, great news for most of us, not for hay fever sufferers. No surprises, the grass pollen counts will be high to very high potentially by the end of the week. Take care, see you soon.
Thanks, Kerry. Settled summery weather. I could definitely live with that. Fabulous.
28 degrees by Friday. Love it. We'll be back with late news later on. Bye-bye.